We are back with another episode of the Black Box Podcast. I'm your host, John.
And I'm your host, Ahmed. And today we have a really fun episode with our man Daniel Martinez, a man of what's the saying? Many like a man wearing many hats or something, or a mass or not what is it? Jack of all trades. That's
Master of
that is
none,
the
yeah.
Yeah, that's the saying I'm looking for. But uh, this man is into software, real estate, and he's an avid podcaster. And we just had an amazing conversation with him, and um, we know you guys will enjoy it very much. But we'll talk about wholesaling and real estate. We'll touch a bit on his experience working with software, and then talk a bunch about how he was able to get his podcast up and running and all the different platforms that he's been using to help automate things and just get it working effectively. But thank you again, Daniel, for a great recording session and honestly just a fun conversation. But we know you guys will love it.
Yeah, it's got to be one of the most value-packed Black Box Podcast episodes we've ever brought to you guys. And it was all thanks to him. We were just able to, provide the good questions to get him to open up. But just really good one. I think we just got to jump into it and get started. All right, Daniel, thank you so much. I'm glad we could connect with Podmatch. You want to just take a couple minutes or a couple seconds to introduce yourself quick before we dive in?
Sure, man. I always like bringing this up because I've been an entrepreneur for 4 years. Originally, I used to be a forklift driver. Got into trucking. Used to drive trucks. Had my CDL. Um, I actually started a trucking company. Did that for 2 years, and then got into real estate, software, and data, which is what I do now. You can touch on any part of that, but yeah, I like bringing up trucking because there's not very many blue collar workers that end up in the space I'm in. So it's one of those things. So if you're a blue collar worker, a truck driver, forklift driver, I've done it. I used to do door to door sales for a little bit, and it's just been a journey, man. I just turned 30 this year, so I've been an entrepreneur for 5 years now, about to be 5 years. So it's been a crazy journey.
Awesome. And I know before we started recording you mentioned that you are also a podcast host. So could you touch on that a bit?
Yeah. So I am a podcast. I have a podcast. It's called the Hive with Us Podcast Network. It's about real estate entrepreneurship, mostly a lot about real estate and real estate niches in general, landlording, lease options, creative strategies, land, houses, apartments, all that good stuff. So it's mostly about real estate. But we launched September. We've been producing about 5 weeks. I took like 3 weeks off 2 weeks ago or so. But we've been doing we're at 210 episodes right now, 212 episodes right now. I don't even know exactly. But we release about 5 a week.
Cranking them out.
We just cranking them out, man. We do podcasts in Spanish. I have a translator that's one of my clients, and she helps us produce content in Spanish. So we have a few
Nice.
episodes in Spanish. We're doing stuff in English, and the Spanish stuff's about real estate and mindset and stuff like that. So it's pretty interesting. I like it.
Awesome.
I guess
Awesome.
the Hive with Us kind of plays off of the real estate software, right? Is that
Yeah. So
you?
the reason the Hivemind came about is it's more of if you and this is if you're in business as well, you learn a lot of hacks and a lot in business just by talking and the people that are like-minded. So we called it the Hive Mind because it's a software, but it's a congregation of people that put their information together to get smarter. So we really hone in on that. Like if we were on Zoom, I have like a bunch of like brains around my head and stuff like that. It's because it's a lot of people that participate in our community because we have a really good real estate community. A lot of people that participate in it, they provide information, they do deals together, they work and network with each other. Like entrepreneurship is a really lonely space, but if you're around like-minded people that are in the same niche as you are aspiring to do the same thing as you really get comfortable in there. You're not
I
alone.
feel like,
Awesome.
yeah, that's definitely been something that's helped me along the way. I mean, through the podcast, meeting all these people and learning from them, but also just being on social media and Discord group chats, et cetera, et cetera. We're able to collaborate and just bounce ideas off each other. And I feel like that's definitely one of the things that's kept me going because really my friends from college, because we all kind of have a good mindset with investing and stuff. But where I'm at now, I'm back up home. Uh, some of my friends around here don't really have the same mindset of getting into investing, entrepreneurship, real estate. So I feel like if I wasn't constantly connected with the right people, it would maybe drag me back to the mindsets that I used to have, which, weren't centered around these things.
So one thing I'll say about that is a hack. If you're an entrepreneur or aspiring to be an entrepreneur, the hack to that is leaving home. I will 100%. I will put my hand in the Bible and say that's the one thing you can do, because it forces you to grow, and it forces you to grow up quick. Like I left my house when I was 22, and I was ready. I grew up outside Chicago, and it was cold. I used to work outside, as you say, forklift driving, and it
Yeah.
was just like, it was one of those things where like I was ready to go. I'm ready to go. I don't really care where the heck I was going. I'm ready to go. Let's go. My wife's like, "You want it?" My girlfriend at the time, she's like, "I have family in Atlanta. You want to go to Atlanta?" I'm like, "Let's go. Pieces, deuces." I don't talk to anybody from high school that I only talk to like one or two people that I went to high school with, and like high school, like they're friends for a season, but like usually they don't go down the path you go. Like usually when you're working a job, your friends are your friends from work because you spend so much time with them.
Yeah.
When you're an entrepreneur, you really have to network it out, because you can really get into, if like you're, especially if you're a solopreneur, you'll just head in the grindstone. You have employees or you have people like that, but no one really understands what you're going through unless you're other entrepreneurs. So, like I said, it's really good to like leave that circle behind, and you really hit a huge like internal growth spurt just by leaving your environment. It's so priceless.
Yeah. I just want to follow up to that, just so you know the full story. When I was 17, I moved out, went to college. That's where I met Ahmed and that current group of guys that we hang out with and talk to.
So you felt it
Um,
firsthand.
no, I did, and it was also, I grew up in upstate New York, so it's a lot of the same people,
Yeah.
a lot of the same culture, and then going to the college that I went to, Stony Brook, a lot of different people, a lot of different cultures. I had to learn things. I learned from Ahmed, asked him about his life, how he grew up, things like that. That I feel like started this chain reaction that got me to where I'm at. Not that it was totally related to investing in entrepreneurship, but then I stayed out of the house. I stayed out, moved to Queens, did a year there, and then after I got into this mindset, now I feel like I've developed it on my own, where no one can really steer me off given my like external environment. Then I moved back home just so I could save money. You know what I mean?
Oh
And
yeah.
everyone on the audience knows that. But the plan is definitely to move back out. Just
Yeah.
was waiting to get into the property stuff.
It's such a
Yeah.
huge growing experience, man. So like even now, like I lived in Atlanta for 6 years, and I moved to LA. I'm like, after LA, I'm like, my wife's like, where are we gonna end up in 10 years? Like, I don't know. I might be in another country. Who cares? I mean,
But that's the best part. Now you have the freedom and the ability to do what you want and choose where you want to go.
that's it, man. That's it.
I guess so. What's the point of your Hive Mind software?
So it's a
Is it
software.
just for real estate to connect with people like that, or
No, so it's a. I mean, people talk about niching down, whatever, but it's a software CRM to essentially organize and control your marketing. That way, you're operating it efficiently.
okay.
So a lot of people that operate a business, like 60% of them, 60% of the small businesses don't use a CRM at all in their business, and like one thing, like they're just working and
Yeah.
doing whatever they want, but there's no way to actually coordinate, control the leads, remarket the leads, hit past clients. Like they just off a whim. So once you understand that your clients can be repeat clients, once you understand that your clients can get you referrals, they can get you reviews, which will in turn you can use to get more clients. You kind of get this whole cycle of like, hey, what system can I use, or what can I use to coordinate and organize myself better to operate more efficiently? So if you're a podcaster,
You're trying to automate.
you're trying to automate. Exactly. You want to automate and SOP your whole business as a whole. That way, you just like the McDonald's model, you can plug in anybody to work the fries, because day one they learn how to work the fries. So it's one of those
Yeah.
things where like you want everybody in your team to know how to use everything in your business and operate different parts of your business. That way you can grow and hire more.
You want to just break down a little bit for people in the audience that don't know what CRM is and what type of software that or
So
tool that is. Yeah, just in case.
thank you. It's customer relations management. So if you're a car salesman, if you're a podcaster, it doesn't matter what you do, real estate. Like I text out, to put this in perspective. I talked to a client about an hour ago. He's texting 50,000 people, blind texting, in 3 days using our platform. So that's the kind of
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
ability you can do. So I don't know. I don't remember how I got on this podcast, but I did a podcast this morning, and she's like, "Oh, so what can the CRM do?" I'm like, "Well, how I ended up here?" She's like, "Well, I got an email, and then I sent you a link based off of your email." And I was like, "Well, I emailed you and 1,000 other people at the same time, specific to your podcast and your name, and I emailed 1,000 people the same email, and I'm here today."
Okay. Okay. So, I mean, we got into using Podmatch and then kind of linked that to the Calendly, which at least automates the
Yeah,
scheduling part. But then there's, I manually sent you this meeting link.
yeah.
So I don't know. Could you kind of give
So
me an example of how I could, link that
so like
together?
I use it. So how I use it for podcasting is there's a kind of like internal Calendly feature. I do text and emails. I do email outreach through the system. I do texting coordination. I manage all my clients through text. Um, if anybody has a question, they can text my system, and my team will answer it. So imagine if you're paid to answer the phone, but you give the same phone number to 5 people. That's kind of what it is. So, and
Okay.
everybody can respond. The same 5 people can respond to that one number to thousands of clients. So it's kind of like a way to drive people to one source, and multiple people can manage that source versus you sending everybody your phone number and your email address and having you're the funnel. You're also the bottleneck too.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say that tends to be the case here. It's like, I mean, if neither of us are doing it, then nothing's getting done. But you're
Exactly.
saying that there are other people in the background, multiple people, in fact, that are doing it if you can't, and in most cases, they're the ones that are definitely doing it, so you don't have to.
Even down to like automation too, where like I can text out like a campaign. Let's say so I always this is my example I always do. So like a good example of a CRM is everybody needs to drink water. You need to drink water. You need to drink water, right? So what's the best way to sell water? You see people on the corner selling water, right? But what if you're only going to get the foot traffic and the car traffic that pass by that intersection? What if you can hit a whole city via text and you have a website for them to buy water and you can hit them all at the same time? Well, and then you have a warehouse that actually delivers the water. That's what the CRM
Yeah.
does. So it gives you
Okay.
it amplifies your ability to reach and touch more people, and then you can actually fulfill the back end through processes. No matter what your business you're in, you can fulfill that through checkout, invoicing, um, SOPs, or whatever that is. That's all it
Gotcha.
is.
Yeah, no. I wanted to ask you two questions, more specific to your podcast and just I guess tips that you would have for podcasters out there.
Yeah.
Um, so one of them is going to be a little, I guess, shorter than the other. But what platforms do you use to create your content? Like, what do you use to record? What do you use to? I know you said you collaborate with others for editing and stuff, but do you know what are all the platforms that are required to generate one episode?
Yeah. I'll tell you exactly what it is. So on the front end, um, scheduling, I use Hivemind. Texting, email automation, all Hivemind. Guest is referrals, Podmatch, and word of mouth. Um, Fulfillment, Restream. I produce and submit all my podcasts through. I'm using Anchor right now. I know there's other stuff out there, but I like Anchor because everybody has Spotify, and you can put your videos. If you upload your videos to Spotify, people can actually watch your episode on Spotify. So that's one of the advantages I like about Spotify, and it'll transcribe, not transcribe, but it'll upload your audio to all the other platforms.
Yeah.
So I use Restream to publish all my videos on that side. So it goes to YouTube, Twitch, Facebook groups, my YouTube, my personal Facebook group, all that stuff. So it all goes on there. I usually sometimes go live with it with using Restream, or sometimes I'll just record it and then push it live. So I have the ability to, like, this episode might be recorded. I can actually push the episode live out to all the channels. So all my listeners can listen to that. I use Otter to transcribe. I'm using Podpage for my website. And then I have just automation in the background. So after a guest comes on, I always pitch them, hey, join my free Facebook group, participate in the Hive Mind. which is Hivemind CRM, by the way. And then I'll give them an offer for automation based on whatever business they're in. And that's all automated on the back end once they fulfill.
Awesome. So
Oh,
I
and
don't
then
know if
editors. Oh, and this is a good one for you guys. So editors, I have 2 editors from the Philippines. They're very, very cheap. You can hire them. There's a website called onlinejobs.ph. You can hire Filipino virtual assistants. So I have 2 full-time editors. I know they don't work 100% of the time, but I pay them $200 every 2 weeks. So it's cost me $800 a month to get all my video editing done. They do all my short form content and all my long form content, all my podcast editing, and they put in ads, pre-roll and end rolls on my episodes.
wow, and that includes video and audio editing.
Yeah.
Wow, nice.
I
I
guess
guess.
I just wanted
Oh,
to throw in one thing. I guess that's one of those situations where, when we outsource work out of the U.S., where they're getting paid relatively well to what we're giving them, but it's also relatively cheap for what we'd pay if we were giving it to someone in the U.S.
Oh yeah, 100%. I have, and no offense to U.S. workers and U.S. Like it's just one of those things where like I have right now my team is I have 5 virtual assistants to help me with my software, the podcast, and all that stuff. They help me with
All
all.
outsourced.
They handle all my back end of the software and the podcast side and content producing. But on the real estate side, I have all Americans that handle the phones and all that stuff on the real estate side. And I have another partner that handles like the real estate side. So it's one of those things where like it's multiple teams, multiple people based on their skills and ability. They work night shift there, our day shift, and they do an amazing job. Amazing
I
job.
guess it's just with the real estate side, it's more just the understanding of what we're working with in the U.S. So being based in the U.S. kind of helps with that.
It's not even unheard of. I literally interviewed one of my clients. He actually ended up partnering with a guy from Argentina, and they're partners in Argentina. And he operates his whole real estate business.
Oh
So
yeah,
for everybody listening outside the country, like it's just having the knowledge and understanding of how to do the business, and you can operate it anywhere.
yeah,
wow.
yeah, and also we're both in tech, so we constantly work with teams that I've managed a team of engineers that was in India.
Okay.
We have the company that I'm currently at now. We have most of the development teams in India. And I mean, I've had great experiences working with them, and I feel like it's just becoming more common, especially in tech, to work with. You mentioned Argentina too. I know there's a lot of people that I've seen in tech doing that as well. So
So so
it's good to see it. I love it.
the CEO of Airbnb, you can look it up. I don't know exact quote he said, but he said that they're no longer hiring locally based because there's a lot of tech companies that work out of Silicon Valley that they're only hiring people that live in
Yeah,
Silicon Valley and Seattle and stuff like that. They're like, we're not going to limit ourselves to that because there's a lot of talent overseas that we're just not hiring because they don't live in the U.S. and it's
yeah.
totally biased. So there's a lot of talented people that live overseas, 100%.
No,
Yep.
and I'm happy that it offers the opportunity of much better pay to everyone else in the country, and it sort of levels the playing field.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
Um,
it definitely does.
for sure. Yeah, Daniel. I don't know if maybe I missed it, but did did you say that you like? I know you said this is your first time using Zencaster. What do you use to record your podcasts?
Restream.io. I have the ability to record, restream. I can position uh, speakers. I can have up to 10 speakers. The reason why I like it is because I have the ability to go live and like depending on your plan, multiple places. So I never used Twitch, but I had the ability to connect to it. I'm like, let's just create a Twitch account, and now we stream to Twitch. So it's one of those things
Hmm.
where people come in and they'll watch it on Twitch. I'm like, oh. It's not that I target them specifically. It's just watch it on Twitch. I don't know.
I guess in
Yeah.
your advertising that you're going live before you actually go live too, right? To your Facebook groups,
Well,
Facebook
I go
groups,
live
and
at
social
the same.
media.
I usually try and go live at the same time every day,
Okay.
and that's the whole point of having a Monday to Friday schedule. Um, and that's why I usually pre-record my content mostly. Another thing that I'll do is I'll actually, depending on who the host is or the guest is, I'll usually depend. Everybody records podcasts at different times, so I'll actually post it live right then and there. They'll be my guests can connect their Facebook to your live, so their people can contribute to your live, And then whenever I release the episode, I repost it again live again. So it looks like there's actually live feedback happening, even
That's
though it
awesome.
might have been 2 weeks prior.
That's nice. Yeah. I know I said I had a second question for you. This one is also related to the podcast. I'm just what I guess what got you started with podcasting, and like do you think that it's something that also supports or helps you with your other endeavors in real estate and software?
So the first part of that is how I got into podcasting was I'm a product of it. That's why I contribute to it. So when I was truck driving, I had all the time in the world. So I would listen to a lot of YouTube and podcasting. So when I got out of it, I was like, let me contribute to it. And one of the good reasons why you contribute to it is because it solidifies your credibility. So there's a lot of podcasts out there that they create a podcast around their business to the point where they produce money from their podcast by producing more business. So I saw that as a no brainer to get more credibility, to get more SEO. Me as a Mexican American, my name is very popular, so it's harder for me to fight through the SEO. So if you Google me, I'm number one on Google, and the reason why is because I've kind of earned that way through podcasting. So it gave me a lot of SEO, and I'm just building it more and more as I go, even to the point where I'm like, every time I guess, I'm like, hey, use my middle name because I'm trying to rank higher. And like a lot of reason why I do stuff like this, I don't know how I even got on your schedule, but the reason why I do this, I enjoy it. I enjoy having the conversation. I enjoy talking to people that want to learn from me. I don't mind giving out the information freely. I've learned a lot over the last 4.5 years, and I just enjoy the conversation, and it's an opportunity for me to get back to where I hence came from of podcasting.
Thank you.
Awesome.
We definitely appreciate that.
No problem.
I had one question too. So at what point did the real estate come in? Was that before all of this? Was that around the truck driving? You had extra money and you wanted to get into real estate, or did this come later when you started to have abundance of money and you were learning from all these other people?
So trucking is and I'll preface this that not all businesses are good businesses that should be run by you. And the reason why I say that is because I had no business experience, and I started a trucking company because I had a CDL, and that's what I knew how to do. And so worst case scenario,
Yeah.
I could work how to do it. A lot of people had the idea, I'm a videographer, I'm just going to start a video company because I know that's what I know how to do. No offense to whatever you do, but understand that there's different profit margins for different businesses. So one thing about trucking that I didn't know about is that it's very expensive. Every dollar you make, you're going to spend 90 to 95% of that, maybe 100% of that. So it's not even worth running that business if it's not profitable. And I didn't
It's
know
about
that.
the scale, I guess. Like you need to have a
Not
lot
even
of
not
people
even
under
about
you.
scale. There's Fortune 100 companies, billion-dollar companies that operate off a margin of 3% or less.
Okay.
UPS,
At
FedEx,
Amazon.
Old Dominion. And Amazon's different because they're not necessarily a shipping company; they're a software company. So
Yeah.
different. Think of Amazon. Think of FedEx, UPS, Old Dominion, Saya. They all operate off a margin of 4% or less, guaranteed. Billion-dollar companies.
Wow. Yeah.
So I didn't know that
Yeah.
coming in. I lost my ass. I was actually losing money. I did trucking for 2 years. I brought in almost 600 grand, and I lost 100 grand.
I mean, to do 600 grand in 2 years of trucking is really good, right? Were you just doing a lot of hours or?
I had 5 trucks. I got up to 5 trucks. I had multiple drivers. I probably went through 30 drivers over 2 years. My biggest month was I did like 140 grand in a quarter, but I still lost money.
Wow.
I'm saying, but you spent more than you actually made on that.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, so what most people don't think about is operating costs. So in trucking, you have employees, insurance, gas,
Oh,
dispatcher.
especially right now, the margin's got to be slim.
I just talked to my dispatcher. He said right now 75% of his cost goes to gas, diesel.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Wow.
because
They're
diesel is
losing
also
money.
what, like $6 a gallon,
They're
5.50
losing money
between
running.
six.
They're losing money doing work. Imagine that. For every dollar
Yeah.
you make, you spend $1.20. That's trucking right now. And
Yeah.
the crazy part about it is like usually rates are supposed to come up to feed that profit margin. They haven't.
They're
Like I've been
not.
out of trucking
Yeah.
for 2 years and rates haven't gone up. So that means people are losing more money now than ever.
Well, I feel like that. Yeah, that's.
And
I mean, wages are technically increasing. I mean, it depends in what industry you're in. I know tech people are like negotiating to get paid more and things like that, but we've seen just from the past couple of years the cost of living go up, and people aren't really making much more.
Yeah, they're not. They're really not.
So I mean, I saw a fact today where it was like, obviously the minimum wage has increased since 1956, but they were saying that pretty much right now it's like you're making the same amount as you were in 1956 due to inflation, and that's insane.
It
But we got off topic.
no, and that goes to say like that's a blue collar job that the 70s it was really amazing to be a truck driver, but like now it's just like it's crap. It sucks to be a driver. It sucks to be a company owner. It sucks to be in that business unless you're doing something else in that business. So one thing I learned is that there's so many other businesses that operate around that niche that have way better business models.
like
That's
I'm
something I
assuming,
learned. Huh?
logistics companies are big, right? Or nah? No?
They're doing just as bad. So one of the most lucrative things in trucking right now, and this is the whole trucking subject, is factoring. So if you guys ever know what a factoring company is?
No.
So a factoring company is they're kind of like a credit card processor. So in trucking, you have a net 30. So if I did $1,000 load to take this load 500 miles, it's $2 a mile, right? I said net 30. So I sent the completed load saying I completed this load. The shipper and the receiver signed it, and the driver signed it, verifying that all parties did their part. I submit
Yeah.
it back to the broker. Technically, they don't have to pay me till 30 days from now. So you have to have cash flow reserves for 30 days plus. So there's companies out there that will buy your receivables for a percentage.
They like front you the money.
Yeah, they'll front you the money. But they'll take a percentage of your work. So if you complete $1,000 load, they're going to take 2% of your work. Well, what does that look like annually? It's a 24% ROI on money that you work for that they're just borrowing from a bank at 6%.
Yeah.
So they're making 18% on money that's not even theirs.
And they did no work.
And they did no work. All they did was invoice. It's
Okay,
crazy.
and I'm starting to feel what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy.
So the services around the actual business are the
Well,
things
like
that are doing much better than the actual business itself.
100%. So I talked to anybody that goes in trucking. Like you have, if you are a driver, like not like a big company driver, you're a regular company driver, or if you're a company owner operator, the stars have to align for you to get paid. You have to get a load. You have to deliver the load on time, and then the broker has to pay you, minus all the commute, waiting, shipper, receiver, 500 miles,
Yeah,
accidents, trains for you to get paid. Like there's so much things that have to be done just for you to even receive that potential $1,000. Breakdowns, tire blowouts, like
yeah,
there's just too much.
Yeah.
it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
I feel like the fact that shipping time, like at least like everyone expects things like immediately, right? You buy something, you expect it to arrive in 2 days, right? Amazon kind of had that effect on us as individuals and like maybe the US specifically as like consumers. How like like logistically, how do things get shipped so quickly sometimes? Like and still like if, for example, right, if I order something that cost me like $10 on Amazon, but it's going to come in 2 days and it's shipping from across the country. Like, granted, there's probably a bunch of other stuff on the truck that would maybe help, but like, do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
How does that work? How does
where
that
do the
make sense?
numbers like line up?
So I'll tell you what it is. What it is that Amazon has built-in footprints in every major market, multiple footprints that they can deliver in 2 days because they already have it on hand. There's no manufacturing of that product. So the way they make money is they make money on storage. So let's say everybody wants to be Amazon FBA, the Amazon FBA, not knocking it or anything. You buy 1,000, you get 1,000 products from Alibaba. You ship it to Amazon. Amazon will store it till they sell out, and they charge you a storage fee. So they actually put it in a warehouse to deliver within 2 days to potential customer. So all that product is literally sitting in a warehouse somewhere in your major market within 2 days away, and that's the answer.
I guess is that also kind of playing to like they're taking a loss in one aspect or breaking even in one aspect to make money in another area. Like they're making money on the storage, but the delivery might not really be making them money. How Costco, sells everything at cost, but they're making money on the membership more than anything else. Like that.
Amazon might be doing the same.
That's 100% it. They're probably losing money on the physical shipping of the product, but they're making money on everywhere else, hand over fist. And they have such brand credibility that they're making money hand over fist over everything else. Where now Amazon owns Amazon their movie studio at this point. Movie studio.
Oh yeah, they own it. So many other services that aren't just the Amazon that we know.
So
okay, I guess
it's just one of those things where like they lose money on that aspect to build up their credibility in other ways.
Okay, makes sense. I guess I just want to tie it back into real estate. Let's jump back to that. How when did you get into real estate? At what point, and how did you do it?
So I got into real estate. When I was in trucking at the time. I actually operated the company. I had drivers working for me, but I wasn't making enough money. I was just losing money at that point. So it was one of those things where like I had to do something else, and that's pivoting. Everybody talks about pivoting. Like sometimes you got to pivot. Like if you want to stay in the game, you got to pivot. If you miss that pivot, you're going back as an employee. But that's always worst case scenario. So one thing about entrepreneurship is you can always go back to your mom's basement and go to get a job at whatever at the warehouse. There's always somebody hiring. So you better give it your all.
But we don't want to go back.
Not that you want to go back, but sometimes you have to repivot and refocus.
Yeah, and rebuild a little bit. Yeah,
it happens. So it's not a knock against you or that you didn't put in your all. It's just it happens. So I was
as long as you don't quit.
As long as you don't quit, man. I'll say this. So the difference between the 1% and the 99 is the 99% either fail and quit or just don't even start. So
multiple people that we've had on have said that.
And that's the difference, man. You can fail forward and just be consistent and you'll be better than everybody else. You'll be better off than everybody else. So I was stuck in the trucking company and I'm like, I have to do something else. I learned about real estate. You kind of learn on that real estate bug, agent, broker, investor, and you kind of learn about wholesaling. You guys had wholesaling people talk about wholesaling?
Yeah.
Okay.
We haven't had anyone on if you want to just cover it quick, but I do know what it is. I'm not sure if you do.
I do. I have like a baseline knowledge of it.
So wholesaling is it's just contract law, so it's not illegal. Essentially, you find sellers that let's say you find Mr. Seller, hey, I'll buy your house for $50,000. Okay, Mr. Seller says, yeah, I'll let you sell it. I'll sell it to you for $50,000. Getting tongue tied here. House might be worth $100,000. You go down to Mr. Investor, hey, I have this house for $50,000 on paper. You want to buy it for $60,000. You know what? That's a great deal. I need $10,000 worth of work. Maybe as a tenant in place. Hey, I'll buy that for $60,000. You take that paper to the title company. You have contract A between you and Mr. Seller for $50,000. You have contract B with Mr. Buyer and you for $60,000. Well, guess who gets $10,000? I do. Yeah. That's wholesaling in a nutshell. Very simple. People do this with everything. It's just if you don't know.
Yeah, and you can do it in not just real estate, but yeah, I know
you can do it. You can do it in a lot of different niches, and you just don't know. So we do the same thing in real estate, and that's how we do. That's how we make money. So my first deal I actually did. I was living in Atlanta at the time. I was doing Google marketing. So we use marketing to talk to homeowners. That's where Hivemind comes in. So I was doing website marketing. I didn't have Hivemind at the time because I was just new, but I was doing website marketing with Google ads. Lady clicked on it. She owned a property in Florida. She's like, I'm getting all these citations for people dumping on my property. I don't even live in Florida. It's like 6 hours away. Would you buy this property? And I'm like, I look it up. I think it's worth about $20,000. I'm like, would you take $5,236.23? I just made up a number. And she's like, it was actually $4,000. It was like $4,200. She's like, can you do 5? I'm like, yeah, I'll do 5. And mind you, I was so scared to talk to the homeowner. The lead came in through my website, and I just emailed her. Emailed her. 15 emails later, I have a contract for 5. I sold it on Facebook Marketplace for 12 in 2 days, and I made $6,000. And that's how I got into real estate.
You were like, oh, this is a gold mine.
Interesting. But yeah, that's how I got into real estate, and it's been, and then ever since I've been in real estate, I've been learning about real estate niches and other businesses in real estate. That's how I got into software and data. That's what I do now. Software.
Have you done, like, do you have properties that you have tenants in, or did you just stick to the wholesaling? Did you try Airbnb?
Right now I have I'm working on a storage deal, and I have a property in Georgia that I'm working that I did like a creative strategy with, but mostly we do a lot of wholesaling with land and stuff like that. So
Gotcha.
we like land because there's no contingent value. Houses are like
It can get appraised, and
it's not even that. It's that
no,
there's physical attachment to it. So if anybody owns a house, they know there's physical value to it because they can always Airbnb it, they can rent it, they can sell it over marketplace. There's like so many opportunities for them to do with it. The reason why I like land is because it's the opposite. There's less comps, there's no perceived value, and you can owner finance it. So a lot of strategies of what we do is like we just create money out of nowhere. So let's say person has a $50,000 lot. So it's not a house this time, so she can't just rent it out. There's no income coming from it. They're actually losing money by owning land because they have to pay taxes. And if they don't pay taxes, they somebody will come. The state will come foreclose on it and sell it to somebody else. So they're paying taxes on it. They're usually inherited it. There's no physical value to it. They probably never seen it before, and it's just passed down generation to generation. So there's no attachment to it. Yeah. So $50,000 lot. Hey, would you take $5,000 for it? Would you take $10,000 for it? Like, yeah, I mean, I'll take $10,000 cash. So we can get a really good discount on it. And then what we do is that it's really hard to get financing on land. So most people that buy land are cash buyers. So we use that to our benefit to get really good deals. But then we sell it at retail. So let's say we contract Mr. Seller. Hey, we like your parcel of 1 acre. Would you sell it to us for $10,000? He's like, yeah, it's worth about 40, but yeah, you can have it for 10. I know it's going to take me 2 years to sell it for 40. Okay. So we'll get it for under contract for 10. We might buy it at that point, or we'll sell it on marketplace or other ways for $10,000 down, $500 a month.
Oh, so you'll personal finance?
Yeah, well,
like you act as a bank or something? Yeah.
We'll act as the bank. Because once we get to 10,000, we own it. So we take Mr. Buyer's 10,000, give it to Mr. Seller, and then we act as the bank and just collect money on it.
That's smart. I never knew that people were doing it with land.
Sorry, $500. Is that just like until a certain point? Like,
you're a bank. You act as the bank. So I'll do $500 a month for 6 years at 10% interest.
Yeah. So they have the intention of building a property on it or something like that?
I don't care. They can do
or you don't care at that point. They could do whatever. they can I guess do you know, or do you have any idea what some people do with it? Do they tend to build properties?
They go hunt on that property. They might camp on that property. They might build their dream home on that property. I don't care what they do with it. And it's one of those things where like you can make creative offers. So if the land is worth 50, I'll sell it to you for $15,000 down, $500 a month for 5 years, or I'll sell it to you cash for 40, and you still get a $10,000 discount. So then you have people like, oh, I'll give you the 40. I'm still making 10,000 on it. I'm like, okay, yeah, give me the.
That's
40.
Also the psychological negotiation tactics too.
You're still selling at a discount, so people are like, oh, this property's worth 60. Let me buy it for 40. I'll pay cash. And you're like, I got it for 10, so I don't care. And then the other way around is that if you get it for 15 down and 500 a month, you get 5,000 in your pocket, and you just collect money on it for 5 years.
I guess that's. I just saw a post like a couple hours ago, right before we hopped on. It was one of those things where a brand will put something up and it's like, this is really worth 3,000, but we're selling it to you for 1,500, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, I gotta get it. I'm getting a deal. No, you just paid 1,500 for something that they probably spent $5 to make.
It's seller psychology in sales, 100%. And once you understand that, like me, I'll opt into people's sales funnel. I'll opt into people's stuff just because I want to see what it sells like. And like the other day, my wife got sold into high ticket. It was like $5,000 pictures. And I'm like, why didn't you show me the funnel? If you bought it I want to see what this funnel look like because it worked on you. It means it's going to work on other consumers.
Yeah, you're like, I can start doing it.
But it's a different mindset that you have with when it's a different mindset you have with like email ads and text message ads. I get text message ads all the time. I'll just mess with them because that's what I do. I text message all these people
Yeah.
randomly. So I'm like, people text me. I want to see what their funnel looks like. I want to see if it's automated. I want to see if they'll call me back. I just mess with people. It's fun.
I mean, in the same time, you're also kind of doing some intel research into like how other
Exactly.
people are doing it. Maybe you catch something along the way that you could use for you. But I got
100%.
two more questions. One
Okay.
is when you're doing these contracts for the wholesaling, what happens if you can't get another buyer on the other end, and then you just have this contract with the seller for a property? Have you ever been in the situation where you don't want to go through with it? Can it just fall through? Because I know in real estate sometimes contracts just fall through, and then it's you might have lost a down payment of $1,000 or something.
I've done it before. So it's one of those things where like it's a measured risk. Sometimes generally you have to put money down, especially in real estate. You have to put some type of monetary down payment in escrow to hold that contract to make it standing.
A good faith down payment or something
Good
like
faith,
that. They
good
call
faith
it.
down payment. So it depends what your risk tolerance is. So when I first started, I'd contract properties for $1. It's monetary. It's a monetary amount. So I'd contract for $1, $10, $100. If I was feeling extra edgy, I'd do it. I'd put 1,000 down. And it was one of those things where like, hey, it's up to you. I mean, $1 is a monetary amount, so I mean, I'll put $1
Yeah.
down. So I had like checks at escrow for like $1 here, $1 properties there, send like $1 checks back. So one thing, and that's when I first started. So it was one of those things where like, yeah, you can afford $10, so contract 10 properties, $100. See what
Yeah.
happens. So the one thing is it's measured risk. So you don't want to lie to potential clients because it's bad business. So if it's high priced, we usually ask for an option agreement. That way we're like, hey, my buy price is here, you're here. Would you give me an option to exercise you at your price point for 60 days? Doesn't cost them anything, and it's just an option. So if somebody comes in and actually buys at their price point or higher, you have the option and ability to buy at their price point. So it's one of the things we get an option contract. And then the other thing is that you always have a due diligence clause. So if the seller lies to you for whatever reason or they don't give you all the details, you can always back out because of your due diligence clause. So it's one of those things where we use that in our negotiations where if it's a really good deal, my partner does the sales side. He's really good at sales. Where I'm the software guy. He said he did this with a client. He was talking to a seller and he's like, I'll be there tomorrow at noon. So he shows up tomorrow at noon, knocks on the door, and the lady had like a ghost look on her face. She's like, I thought you were him, and there was somebody in there about to sign the contract. She's like, I thought you were the person I spoke to, so we're about to sign the contract at this price point. So he's like, go in there and tell him that I'll pay you more than what he's contracting it for. And if he says I'll beat his price, he's lying to you, and he's just trying to get the contract. So he kind of like double-ended negotiated her. So she went in like, I have a guy outside who's going to sign the contract. He says he's
That's
going to pay
crazy.
more. He said he's going to pay more than you. And he's like, I'll pay more than you. And so he told him, if he says that, kick him out of the house. So he comes back. He said what he said he was going to say. So she kicked him out of the house, and he got the contract.
So it definitely is like, it's to some aspect mastering like the human psychology and knowing how. Well, that also comes with experience too, right? Like knowing in
100%.
these situations how people react to this stuff. Because when it comes to like large sums of money, people act emotional.
100%, and
So,
you have to pull the emotion out of it, and that's why like when you do land, it's a lot easier because there's no emotion tied to it. Where emotion with houses, it's like really really emotional because it's a physical asset. They might have inherited it from their grandparents, and they grew up in that house, and it's just like you got to deal with a lot of
yeah.
emotional trauma, which is why being an agent sucks in some cases because you have to deal with that front blunt of it 100% of the
Because
time.
you're also coming like you're supporting the customer side, so you like have to cater to that emotional stuff. When you're really just a buyer or a seller, you don't really have to care as much or have to pretend to care as
100%.
Yeah.
100%. But like I said, it's one of those things. Like if you get into business, you're going to be They call it the underpaid therapist. I was an underpaid therapist for my trucking drivers. I mean, I dealt with marriage problems, girlfriend problems. I talked to my drivers about all that stuff because it's one of those things where like I was like 26 at the time, talking to people about marriage problems. I've been married for 20 years, and my girlfriend's doing this, this, and this. I'm like, you gotta.
Just leave.
And it's one of
But
those things where, like it's not, it's probably more than we should do, but you want to keep them working because that's your livelihood. So it's one of those things you have to
well,
like deal with
and
them.
I mean, especially when you have employees, you do care about them. You
Yeah,
want to help as much as you can.
the
So,
hardest part about a business is people.
oh, definitely.
The
Because if we were
employees,
all robots, things would go to plan every time, but we're not,
exactly.
so they
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
Between the clients and your employees, it's the worst part.
All right, I got one last question, Ahmed. You can fire off anything if you have it after. So, when you're acting as doing owner financing, acting as the bank, how does the contract negotiations go? Like, what if someone doesn't pay you back? You have all that legal stuff sorted out, right?
Yeah.
Like, what if they just stop making payments?
So 100%. We 100%. You're secured just like a bank is. So
Okay.
when a bank finances a property, they what they call they get a deed of trust, which is separately tied to the deed. So the deed is what holds ownership, and the deed of trust is what secures that deed and the bank's money interest. So whenever you finish paying off a loan with a bank, they actually sign a lien release for that deed of trust, which means you have full rights to the deed. So if you ever stop paying the lien holder, they can actually file paperwork to foreclose to take over that deed
Okay.
and become owners of that. So they take over all the equity, they take over all that stuff.
Oh, so they take the equity that they've already put in.
Yep.
Okay.
Not tech. I mean, that's a different question. They take over what's owed to them at that point.
Okay.
But whenever they,
So would you get paid out
yes,
of the equity you've already put in? Okay.
yes. So technically, that's a whole nother conversation about real estate
Yeah.
strategy. But if someone's going through foreclosure and they have equity in the house, technically the bank can only foreclose, take back what's owed to them, and then they have to release the rest of the funds back to them. A lot of people don't know that, and it took me 3 years to learn that, but that's an advanced strategy that if
Because
it's
that's why
hard.
banks usually put the house up for auction after, so then they can relinquish all the equity, pay the owner back, and then take the rest of the money.
Yep. So
Okay.
what happens to your, and this is a whole other subject, but your equity actually goes to the state in most cases, and it just goes in limbo. So there's like billions of dollars in state treasuries that's just sitting there that people don't even know is there.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. I didn't know that. That's new.
So you can actually search surplus funds in this every state you lived in. Search your name, and you can probably find money from your relatives, money from your parents. Um, I found money. Put this in perspective. My wife's grandfather has been in prison for 35 years. I found money from him when he visited Louisiana 40 years ago. That was just sitting there.
Okay.
So
Okay.
good little tidbit.
And that was related to real estate, or that was just related to something else. Like,
So
and
the way it relates to real estate is, let's say you have $100,000 property. Um, the bank is owed 40 grand. They foreclose on that property. They sell that property for 100 grand on the auction. Where's that 60 grand go? Well, the 60 grand goes to the surplus fund to the state, and the state will hold it till somebody claims it.
oh, so you don't
Wow.
get it back.
No, you have to claim it. So
Oh, you have to claim it. Okay.
the state will, well, the bank can't legally keep it because it's not theirs. So they have to serve a notice to the owner saying, hey, you have money here from your property. Please email us back verifying your identity to reclaim it. Problem is they don't have a proper mailing address. They don't have a forwarding address, and it just goes in limbo. So there's actually businesses out there that help people claim their funds and take a portion of that money too. That's a whole other business.
Okay.
I didn't. That's a business I never would have even thought about.
Yeah,
Because I
there's
mean,
billion. So check this out. There's billions of dollars in California state treasury. You can collect up to a 10% finder's fee for finding that person and doing the proper paperwork. So if they're owed 100 grand, you can bet 10 grand a pop just by targeting people that are owed 100 grand or more.
I've actually heard about this. I have once on one of those like TikTok videos, but I was like,
It's legit.
this seems crazy.
It's legit. 100%
Okay.
legit. And it's just helping
No,
people
yeah,
collect money that they didn't know they have.
Wow. Yeah, no, because I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, of course, like if you're owed money, like of course it's not going to be just easily granted to you. You have to jump over hoops and stuff to go and find it and then get it.
Yeah,
You gotta
the
love
government
everything.
shady like that.
Yeah.
So I have a crazy story that has to do with real estate and surplus funds. This is the craziest story I've ever heard about this, but it makes total sense. So, and this might be a little bit over your guys' head, but you guys can understand this. And I
yeah,
probably shouldn't say this because this is crazy. But client, this client, whenever he contracts properties, he actually has sellers sign deeds with notaries. The good thing about that is that all you have to do is file the deed, and you're essentially the owner. It's not fraud because he's actually giving them monetary compensation. So what he does is he'll knock these properties. They're already going through a lot of issues, and he'll be like, "Hey, I'll buy your house for 100 grand. Here's a grand down if you sign this deed." They're like, "Okay, I need to sell this property." They might, and the reason why he goes after them is because they're about to go to tax foreclosure. So if the state comes in and takes it, they'll lose everything, right? So the guy agrees to sell his house for 100 grand, right? Um, he has the seller sign a deed, but he gives him $1,000. So he gave them monetary compensation for the deed and an agreement to terms after that. So he does a title search to the title company. Title company says, "Hey, there's another lien on here behind the state because state always takes hierarchy in the real estate process." So their second position, they call it second position, was a bail bonds lien of like 70 grand or something like that. So he's like, "Hey, you didn't tell me about this lien. Give me my $1,000 back, and I'll give you back the deed." Dude's like, "Dude, I spent that $1,000. Take a hike." So he's like, "All right, whatever." So the bail bondsmen find out about the tax foreclosure, and they have equity. Essentially, the lien that gives them the ability to take that money, that asset, to give. They gave that money to him to bail him out of jail that way, and they leveraged an asset. So they're now stuck behind the state to get that asset back. So they're like, "Hey, Mr. Seller, you're up for the tax. Like, we need to pay the taxes, but you don't own the house anymore. You don't have the deed anymore." He's like, "Yeah, I gave the deed to this guy for $1,000, and I don't have the deed anymore." He's like, "Dude, you need the deed because that's what secures our interest, or else you owe me 70 grand." He's like, "We'll give you the $1,000. Just call the dude back and get the lead, get the deed back." And he's like, "Okay, okay." Because now if they foreclose on him and if they lose the house, they still owe him 70 grand. So
oh my gosh,
the bail
this is
bondsman,
complicated.
yeah, it gets crazy. So the bail bondsman, and this might be over your head.
I get it. Yeah.
The bail bondsman tells the seller, "Hey, I'll give you $1,000. Tell the dude to give you the deed back." So they call my guy back, and he's like, "I'll give you the $1,000. I need my deed back." He's like, "Nah, I mean, I tried to give it back to you, but you didn't want it. So now it's my deed." So he lets it go to foreclosure. Tax foreclosure comes in, wipes out the bail bondsman for their lien. They take back their money. They sell it at the auction. Guess who gets the surplus funds? The person who owns the deed. So
Yeah.
the dude got paid 100 grand for $1,000 deed that he bought off the dude, and the bail bondsman got wiped out because they're in second position behind the state, and he made 100 grand
So when
off of
they auctioned it off, they were able to pay off the bail bonds.
the bail bondsmen
Oh,
get wiped out because the lien positions are in hierarchy order. So everybody always wants first position because they have the ability to foreclose on the deed at that point. So
okay.
if people get like home equity lines, they're usually second position. If they get uh, child support liens, they're usually second position. All these contractor liens are
Yeah.
second position behind the bank. State takes over the bank automatically, so the property is owned free and clear. So it was just state taxes and then the bail bondsman. State wiped out the bail bondsmen, so now they're gone out of the picture. It's no longer owed.
Like they paid them off for that 70 grand, you're saying?
They had to deal with them personally.
Okay.
They had, but
So they took them out of the equation.
they took them out of
And
the
you're saying
equation.
then, so
Yeah.
he turned 1,000 into 100,000. That's a come up.
just by getting the deed, and he didn't defraud the guy either because he offered to give it back to him for the $1,000, and he said no. So he just kept the deed and kept the surplus funds.
That's sick.
That's
How
nice.
often does that really like ideally happen though?
Most people don't know that even exists.
Yeah. Did it kind of happen coincidentally to him also? Like he didn't really know because he was trying to give him back the deed anyway. If he knew, or did he know that that's why you have to offer it back to the person. If they can't give you the funds, then that's when you can go through
I
with
don't
that
think he
process.
knew about that at that time. He kind of learned along the process, and it was just one of those things where it kind of went in his favor because he would have lost his $1,000 but ended up making 100.
Yeah. That is a crazy story.
So don't give out money in that position. It's a crazy story.
I never want to
but
get
it's
myself in
understanding
that position though.
But it's and like people make a lot of money in real estate based off their niches. So the more you understand about real estate law, real estate processes, foreclosures, pre-foreclosures, the more you understand about all those things, the more information you have, because a lot of people don't know about that. So like we deal a lot with like airships and troubled title because we're able to solve those equations where most agents can't. So like we have a one up over the agents because they can't even close the property because the title company won't even close it because it has issues. So there's all these problems all over the US that can't be solved, and we come in and solve them. So it's having the ability and
Okay, I
information
got it.
to facilitate and solve those problems is what makes you the money.
Nice.
Yeah,
I
with
mean,
knowledge brings value.
I guess it does make sense, right? Yeah. If you're the only one that could solve the problem, you could really charge as much as you want to solve that problem.
Exactly. So like me and my partner, we did a deal where the people were in prison. They were trying to get money to sell the property, and they didn't trust anybody in prison. So we're doing paperwork through the prison door. And it was one of those things where like we're willing to do stuff that other people aren't, and that's why we get good deals.
Well, usually when you put yourself in those situations, which may be exposing yourself to some type of higher risk because it's not as conventional,
Yep.
then you usually get better returns and better opportunities.
So like most investors, they operate in the gray area. Let's say 100% of the transactions, there's about 95% of them that are done between an agent between A and B, and everything goes perfectly fine in the shiny world of real estate. We operate in the 5%, which means we get paid more to solve those bigger problems that people regularly can't solve. So they usually refer them out to us just because they don't know how to solve it. To the point where we put ourselves in positions and networks that like, hey, if you have trouble title and airship problems, send it to us and we'll fix that problem.
Awesome.
That's really interesting though. Congrats on being able to like find that area and like leverage it to the best of your ability.
It's a crazy space, but if you're gonna do something niche, because there's gonna be money there forever. Surplus funds, it's very niche. You can do that shit forever. I know people that make a ton of money in that. Real estate, do real estate niches because there's a lot of money in that. Not necessarily just real estate in general. Don't be just a regular agent. The regular agents are going to be starving in the next 2 years, but people that do niche stuff, they're going to still be serve plenty of food around.
Yeah. I mean, I guess before we wrap up, do you want to drop like your website? It's like, I'm assuming you have multiple websites given the like contrast in your businesses, but social medias, anything like that.
Yeah, so my name is Daniel Martinez. I have my Instagram handle, Daniel_._Martinez. I have our Facebook group, Hivemind CRM. If you want to learn how to make 6 figures on a land deal for $1, you can text 210-972-1842. Just text the keyword course, COURC, and I'll send you a link to how to make 6 figures on a land deal. We've done it we've done it like 3 times in the last year. How to make, and we've had like 3 or 4 clients do it too. Make 6 figures on one deal. So if you're out here starving making $25,000 a year, if you put your time and effort towards real estate, there's opportunity to make 4x that. It's pretty crazy, man. Real estate is pretty unlimited, and there's once you understand the basics, it's time, money, knowledge. If you can put 2 of the 3 things out of that into real estate, you can figure it out.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. No, this is definitely, I don't know, I could definitely put this up there with one of the top episodes in terms of how much information we were able to pack into it in an hour. So
yeah, granted, we were jumping around a bit between different things, but
I feel like those
definitely
always end up being the
informative
best
and
ones.
I mean fun for us. I mean, given we actually just recently started recording our video. We were always showing video, but we weren't recording it. So now I guess our viewers get to see how much we were laughing and smiling during this episode. So
man, you gotta get the content in every way possible and send it out in every way possible, man, because people consume it differently. Just like we use marketing, text, email, websites, all that stuff. We use it all different ways. You got to send it out different ways too. I got people probably watch this on Twitch later. I'm like, what? Who watches on Twitch? I don't know.
No, exactly, and that's what we've been trying to pick up, like each step of the way. We've been adding little bits of extra content as we can, and then jump into YouTube and video. That's the next step, and I think we're just trying to come full circle, offer it every way possible, like you just said.
Yeah,
but sorry,
it shouldn't be all of you. Outsource, hire a video editor.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna start looking into that more. Thank you for the tip too. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, no problem. We covered a lot.
No, we did, and we jumped around, but I feel like that's always the best kind of episodes. It's a little hectic to listen to, but you gotta pick something out of this that you could use, or you could like at least think about and start looking into.
The title will probably have a few commas in it, but it's okay.
All right, man.
All right, I'll send us off. So you guys know where to reach us. Black Box Podcast, no A in the black on Instagram and Twitter. Black Box Podcast with an A in the black on TikTok. That's pretty much it. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it again. Shout out to Podmatch, hooking us up with really great guests, really educational content, and we will see you next time.
Peace. Black Box.